Hello and welcome to Halls on Film. I'm Sheldon Hall.
And I'm Christopher Hall.
And today we'll be talking about two films. Luchino Visconti's Le Notti Bianche, or White Nights.
And Werner Herzog's Nosferatu the Vampyre.
Let's begin with White Nights, let's call it that to make things simpler. This is a film that neither of us had seen before, made in 1957. Directed by Luchino Visconti, of course, starring Marcello Mastroianni, who was then towards the beginning of his film career, and Maria Schell. And this is a film that was shot entirely on a soundstage at Cinecittà Studios. It's adapted from a Dostoevsky story, transferred to Italy, a small town in Italy. And it concerns a young man played by Mastroianni who passes a young woman, played by Schell, on a bridge one evening coming back from a night out. She seems unhappy, melancholy, and he sort of makes a play for her in a gentle way. And over time they become friends with one another, loosely speaking. And she tells him about a previous relationship that she's known with her tenant. She lives with her blind grandmother, and their lodger, played by Jean Marais, has been a kind of object of love previously for her. He has gone away mysteriously for a year, and she has promised to wait for him. And the film explores the relationship between Mastroianni and Schell while we wait to see if Marais turns up again, as indeed does she. I thought this was a terrific film, a miracle of studio filmmaking. It's the kind of film that could only have been made in a studio and with the best kind of technical resources. Although it comes at the tail end of just after the Italian neorealist period, it's not remotely neorealist. Obviously, Visconti had been associated with neorealism in the 1940s. He then made his kind of operatic period melodrama Senso in 1954, and this was a much more intimate sort of movie, but it's just as spectacular a display of technical finesse and studio resources as a much larger scale film. It's the kind of set really that you just want to walk through it. You want to live in that set. You want to explore that set more. It's such an extraordinary three-dimensional space with, you can see into the distance, and obviously it's all a false perspective, but you have the sense of it being an enormous labyrinthine space, and you could just live in there. At the same time, you're aware that it is a piece of artifice, but it's such a vivid piece of staging.
Yeah, and it feels like they're very proud of the set because there are a lot of deep focus shots where you get to see the set, and there's lots of one-ers, and particularly when they're walking in the evening, you get to see the set. So it's not another character, but it's clear they want you to see the set, and they want the artifice of the set and the beauty of the of its build. What I couldn't find anything about it, but what I would have really liked to have known, because it is beautifully shot in black and white, is whether or not in real life it was painted in black and white, or whether it was a full colour set. Mainly because I'm nerdy, and I would have liked to have known that. And years and years and years ago, when I worked at a theatre in Worcester, there was an adaptation of Gaslight, and the set, and it was all done as if it was in black and white. So I'm always interested in understanding how that works. But you're absolutely right. It's remarkable, and the fog scenes are also astonishing.
Yeah.
Because they didn't bring a fog machine on set. They used twill drapes.
Yes, scrims.
And lit them with automatic timers to evoke the fog and the mist of this of the coastal town.
But it is, as you're watching, you think thinking, at one part of you is thinking, how on earth did they do that?
Yeah.
Because it just seems like the kind of thing that would be impossible to do in a film studio.
Yeah, yeah. And then there's a snow sequence as well.
The most authentic looking fake snow I've ever seen in a film.
Yeah.
In most movies, you can tell that it's either salt or cut up feathers or snowflake, soap flakes or something of the sort.
Yeah.
Here, it actually looks like snow. They've actually brought snow onto the set, but they couldn't have done because of the lights would have automatically melted them.
Yeah.
So how did they do that? I don't know.
In the opening credits, the technicians at Cinecittà actually get their own credit page,
yes.
which is
very unusual.
Very unusual. Yeah. Which is a very nice touch and a lovely acknowledgement. Yeah.
Yes, it's a film by Cinecittà as much as it's a film by Visconti.
What about the performances in the story then, Sheldon?
Mastroianni is always wonderful, and this is before he'd established a kind of major reputation as a movie star. He'd been associated with Visconti in the theatre. Visconti had, between films, a very extensive directing career on stage. And so he wasn't a newcomer to acting. He'd been acting since, I think, the late 40s, Mastroianni. But he's not a big movie star at this point. And yet, as you watch him, you think, this is absolutely a movie star. And he's playing an ordinary person. He's supposed to be, a kind of regular middle-class guy. But he has the charisma of a leading man.
Yeah, and what was remarkable? There are a few tonal changes in it, which I enjoyed, and I think when I rewatch it, I'll enjoy even more because you expect them. One is a remarkable dance sequence, which I think we'll come back to, but the other one is he lives in a boarding house. And it's almost farcical the way the women who run the boarding house take care of him and mother him. And it's like he reverts to a kind of like a son, a child, in the way that they take care of him in that. And that's kind of played for laughs ever so slightly, not out and out, but ever so slightly as well. And that was one of the things that I enjoyed about it, was those tonal shifts. But then there is this dance sequence in it as well, which is remarkable, isn't it? Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, I mean, this is it takes place in a small bar, and we have the remarkable spectacle of Bill Haley on the soundtrack, and people just break spontaneously into dancing. And there's one particularly charismatic dancer who takes kind of the foreground, showing off, really. I don't know who that performer is, but he could easily have turned into a star, I think. And then hilariously, Mastroianni gets up and kind of takes him on and does this kind of self-parodying. I was laughing out loud at that particular point.
Yeah.
It's the film is not a comedy, but that sequence is beautifully timed. Mastroianni has a great comic instinct.
Yeah.
And the previous films that he'd been in, including one with Sophia Loren, Too Bad She's Bad, are predominantly comedies. So this is a relatively serious role for him. But at that point, his kind of comic timing really breaks out. Wonderful sequence.
Yeah. Bill Haley comes out of nowhere.
Yes.
Yeah. While we're talking about music, it's also scored by Nino Rota, who, of course, did loads of Italian stuff, but also did The Godfather.
Yeah.
And I must have looked down when his name came on screen, and I thought, this sounds a bit like The Godfather. And there are motifs in the soundtrack for White Nights which occur in the motifs for The Godfather. Which is fine because he's a composer.
The Godfather theme actually originates from a film around this time,
yes,
the 50s.
Yeah. So
I forget the title of that.
So I did a bit of research.
Okay.
Went online.
Are you going to tell me?
And he wasn't nominated for the Oscar for the Godfather soundtrack because he self-plagiarized.
That's right.
And you think, fair enough. Musicians are allowed to do that. And then you think, well, if a motif works, why not use it again?
It certainly wouldn't be the first composer who self-plagiarized.
No, not at all.
We should say, by the way, when we're talking about, you just mentioned Nino Rota, who was a regular collaborator with Visconti. We should also mention Giuseppe Rotunno, who is the cinematographer who also worked again on several future films with Visconti, and who is responsible for the extraordinary visual qualities of this film. I mean, really spectacular piece of filmmaking.
There are some absolutely beautifully poetic shots in it. One of my favourite ones was when they have an argument late at night. She disappears, and there is a prostitute just standing by and watching it. She says, I can't remember what she says, but he just disappears. She just shrugs her shoulders and then readjusts her hair in her reflection on a puddle. And it's all done in the wide. And it's like the visual poetry of all of that is, and that's just one example. There are lots of different examples of that kind of visual poetry, which are just wonderful all the way through, which the transfer raises. It's just beautiful. That was one of the shots that stuck in my mind afterwards. Just the poetry of that. The other tonal shift, which is not as much. She tells the story of falling in love with the lodger and him needing to leave and her obsession with him, almost like it's a fairy tale. There's a real wish fulfillment in it. And when it cuts back, one of Mastroianni's lines, he just goes, "This story makes no sense." And that made me thinking, so is she an unreliable narrator? This is interesting. And then it becomes, I could start thinking, there is a melodramatic and there's a fairy tale aspect.
This is very much the line taken by Adrian Wooten in one of the extras on the disc. So Adrian Wooten does a 20-minute analysis of the film in which precisely he takes that line that it is a kind of modern fairy tale, making reference to other fairy tales. In particular, he mentions Beauty and the Beast. And, of course, that's entirely appropriate because the lodger, the tenant in this film, is played by Jean Marais, whose best-known role probably is as the Beast in Jean Cocteau's 1946 La Belle et la Bête. His second best-known role is probably in Cocteau's Orphée, and Wooten makes the comparison with the Orpheus myth as well. And so behind this contemporary story, there is a kind of mythical narrative going on there. And yes, you're never entirely sure what credibility to give to the story that she tells. And we don't actually find anything more about the tenant. The tenant, it turns out, is real, or at least Marais is real. He does reappear at the end of the film, spoiler. But we don't get to find out what the background to the character is, where he's been, why he's... there seems to be some kind of secretive... slightly sinister reason for his being in the boarding house, or being in her house as a boarder, as a lodger to begin with. But we don't actually get to find out what that is. We don't get to find out where he's gone to and all the circumstances of his coming back. So it does have this kind of fairy tale quality to it. It's inexplicable. We should make mention of some of the other extras in the package. Besides the interview with Adrian Wooten, there's also a collection of short interviews with both critical commentators and people involved with the production, including Returno. There's an informative background essay in the booklet by Pasquale Iannone, and an extract from my former colleague Jeffrey Noel Smith's book on Visconti about this film. So there's quite a good range of extra material here in support of the film to give it context.
And it's a great transfer, isn't it?
It's absolutely stunning.
It's on Radiance, and it's another great package from Radiance.
I particularly appreciate. As you know, I've just bought a new telly, and it looked fabulous on my 77-inch monitor.
Okay,
quite extraordinary looking film. I don't think I would have as appreciated it as much as I did had I seen it on a lesser quality reproduction.
It's a great example of why we should still be restoring and distributing these films.
Absolutely, yes. This is a 4K restoration. Although we saw a standard HD Blu-ray, the transfer is a brand new 4K restoration completed in 2024, I think, at Cinecittà Studios, as it happens.
At the end, which I also believe is in the book, right at the very end when she's gone back to Jean Marais, Mastroianni walks off and just befriends a dog who is in some scenes all the way through.
Certain kind of figures in the background recur. It's one of those films where the assistant directors are really, working because it's full of bystanders and passers-by, and sometimes those figures come to the fore, others they're just in the background. Although you're conscious that it is a studio set, there are times when you think, that's like a street that I know. I mean, I've not been to the town where it's set, but I go regularly to Bologna in Italy, and there are streets that you think that could be that street, and you know it's not, but it has that kind of vividness. And you know the liveliness. It doesn't look staged. It doesn't look created.
Moving on to Werner Herzog's 1979 film Nosferatu the Vampyre, starring Klaus Kinski as Nosferatu. This is, I hesitate to say it's a remake of Murnau's Nosferatu because Herzog himself said it's not really a remake. These days it would probably be called a reimagining, but of course Herzog would not use that word. They used Dracula as the name for Klaus Kinski's character throughout, because by this time Dracula had entered the public realm, so they were able to use Dracula. One of the reasons Herzog wanted to make this film was because he wanted to pay homage to what he thought was one of the greatest generations of German filmmakers. And also for a long time it was thought that Murnau's Nosferatu was just lost because they burnt every copy of it because of Bram Stoker's widow wanted every copy burnt because they hadn't asked permission. Mm-hmm. It is remarkable in many, many, many ways. The thing that stands out is the power of the Nosferatu character and Klaus Kinski's character. As in Murnau's version and in Robert Eggers' version, he doesn't really have that much screen time. I think he has something like 17 minutes, but he dominates the entire film. And when he's in it, you know that he's in it. It's also a very restrained performance from Kinski. You see how great an actor he is when he's working on all cylinders and is clearly not going through a time when he's struggling with his mental health. Although Herzog does say in Herzog on a Herzog, it was only every other day that he was having his tantrums, although I don't think Herzog uses the word tantrum. But it's clear that he's taking it very, very seriously. It's also got Isabella Gianni in it. It's got a lot of atmosphere. It's very slow, and it's not a horror film. It doesn't obey the tropes of horror films.
No, you disagree? I would tend to disagree. I mean, the tropes of horror films are actually quite various. I mean, and it obviously has little in common with Hammer's Dracula or Universal's Dracula, other than the story, of course. I was watching it late at night, after midnight, by myself, with the lights dimmed. It's kind of scary at times. It has that kind of eeriness that is hard to achieve in a film. It's not conventional melodramatic suspense in the way that a Hammer film would be, but it has a kind of an unsettling atmosphere to it, and the anxiety induced by Kinski Nosferatu's presence is real. I think. I think on that question of whether or not it's a remake, it's full of recreations of not just the scenes but the compositions and the lighting of Murnau's film. So it really helps to have seen the Murnau film and to have it in mind as you're watching, because again and again it will recreate a particular moment which is meant to evoke the previous film with the benefit of colour, if that's if that's important to you.
Herzog talks a lot in Herzog on Herzog about how much he likes the original. In fact, all of that era of German films.
I think he said the most important film ever made in Germany.
Yes. Yeah, you got there before me,
Sorry.
Okay. And sort of interestingly, they made a German and an English language version at the same time, because the lingua franca on set was English.
We should say that the Blu-ray and now the 4K edition come from the BFI.
Yes.
We watched different Blu-ray editions. In fact, there had been a Blu-ray edition in 2014, which is the version you watched.
Yeah.
I watched the 2025 remastered edition, which has additional extras. And I would guess a new transfer, but we didn't compare them directly with one another.
We're not that nerdy.
No, we're slightly
Yet.
nerdy, but maybe not that nerdy. I've forgotten what point I was going to make now, why I brought all of this up. Oh, yes, both the older and the newer discs include the English version, which was shot simultaneously with the German version, which is presented with subtitles, although the subtitles are optional, so you can turn them off if you want. The English language version was shot simultaneously. It's not simply a dub of the German version. It is a separately shot version, in much the same way, in fact, that both domestic and overseas versions were shot in the silent period in both Europe and America. Two versions were shot simultaneously with different takes, and we've got that here. It kind of recreates silent movie practice and early sound practice. We both watched the German language version this time out. I have seen the English language version before. I have to say I don't think it works very well, even though it's authentic. Quite possibly there may be some voice replacement in some of the parts. I'm not sure that Isabella Gianni's own voice is used in the German version. You might want to know about that.
That's not something that I'm aware of. Oh, that's interesting.
But certainly the actors use their own voices in the English language version. Not very effectively, I think. The main problem for me in terms of the performances is Bruno Ganz, who plays Jonathan Harker. Jonathan, as Johnny calls him in the German version, whose performance is extremely flat. I mean, almost unprofessionally flat, I might say. And that
are you talking about in the English language?
In the English language version, yeah. I mean, it's flat enough in the German version.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a good part.
It's not the choice role in the story, but it gathers power later on because again, I hope this isn't too much of a spoiler. Jonathan, from being the victim in the first half of the film, becomes a vampire himself by the end and effectively replaces Nosferatu.
Yeah,
and in order to give that power, you have to sense him transforming throughout the movie. And the problem for me with Gantz's performance is that he is so flat and inexpressive in the first part of the film that he's almost livelier when he's undead.
Yeah.
Or indeed dead.
I completely agree.
In the latter part of the film. So, I mean, the makeup and that sort of zombie-like presence that he has in the latter part of the film is very effective. Would have been a lot more effective had his presence in the first half of the film been a bit livelier. Had he actually, shown more reactions and more spontaneous emotion. And as it is, particularly in the English language version, but not only in that version, he seems very flat to me.
In his defence, he doesn't have much to do. It's a very reactive part.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, it's a passive.
He's Renfield goes, you've got to go to Transylvania. He gets on a horse. He goes to Transylvania. He stays the night in a hut in the middle of Transylvania. The landlord goes, no, don't go to the castle. Anyway, it's a ghost castle. Everybody agrees. All the gypsies go, yeah, don't go to the ghost castle. He gets up the next morning. His horse isn't there. Yeah. In a slightly on the nose piece of dialogue with a guy who's got a carriage. He goes, can you take me to the castle in your carriage? And the guy goes, I haven't got a carriage. Yes. Well, what about if I take one of your horses? I haven't got any horses. Then they're standing next to them. So he walks off. He doesn't react in any way.
Yes, I better walk then.
Yeah, he's a tabula rasa in that way. I better walk.
I mean, the thing about the part is he's the only one who doesn't know what's going on.
Yes.
The viewer knows, as well as all of the mumbling extras, that Castle Dracula is a terrible place he shouldn't go to.
Yeah.
And he's the only one who doesn't know and won't take any advice. So of course Jonathan seems like a dupe, a fool.
And he never says what.
No,
he
doesn't. And it seems access no curiosity whatsoever. Yes. I mean, it's an unfortunate part, but it doesn't really help to play it as a blank. I mean, I've seen this film many a time, maybe half a dozen times, and at lengthy intervals.
Yeah.
The last time was about a decade ago when the last version came out on Blu-ray. And I like it better each time. I mean, I think it's an enormously... it's a beautiful film. It's a beautiful-looking movie. It's haunting. It's got this strange quality to it from the very opening titles with those... kind of mummified corpses look like children that have been
which I think Herzog had seen in South America on one of his travels, and then went back to film them specifically for the opening titles. Yeah,
and then that's intercut with the slow motion shot of a bat, and then interrupted by a Johnny waking up in the middle of the night.
Yeah, and also very very early on, just some kittens playing on a bookshelf. Mm-hmm. Herzog weaves a dreaminess into it, which is seductive.
And he's got this extraordinarily evocative soundtrack as well. I mean, it's a mixture of classical excerpts with newly composed music, and I'm not entirely sure whether the opening sequence, which has this very kind of effective choral backing, I'm not sure if that's an archival piece or if it's created for the film. Whatever it is, it's very effective at creating this very distinctive atmosphere, and it's one of those pieces of music that you can, just thinking about the film, you can sort of hear it in your head, you know what I mean?
And he brings that back at the end, doesn't he, with the final shot as Harker rides off on this extraordinary beach shot that they've got. I hadn't seen it for a long, long time, and I'd forgotten most of it. For me, the character of Nosferatu, he doesn't attempt to humanize Nosferatu, but he definitely makes, for me, my reading of it is that he was a tragic figure.
Oh yes,
he's not a supernatural figure. He's not just a mindless predator. He's actually a tragic figure who just can't help himself. He talks about the problems of being immortal very early on to Harker. He doesn't look like he enjoys sucking the blood of
yes, it's a compulsion.
He looks like a troubled man, and because Kinski's got on this almost a full head makeup, it's almost all with the eyes and his physical...
There's a little making of documentary where you see his ears being stuck.
And that to me was the greatest strength of it, was the you don't feel compassion for him, but you do feel, oh no, he's not a mindless predator. They give him some kind of tragedy, which was something which I felt was a very interesting and touching and engaging way forward.
The pathos really does come across, the tragic quality of the character really does come across in Kinski's performance, you're right. It's also worth saying I'd like to praise Ajani's performance, because she... has the quality of a silent movie heroine. That kind of, by comparison with Gantz particularly, she's extremely expressive without being over the top. It's a strange combination in the film of melodrama and realism and poetry, and it works. That combination, it shouldn't, but it does work.
You're absolutely right. She's made up like a silent movie actress, and they often film her like a silent movie actress. Silent movie actresses were filmed as well, which is
I mean, in a way, it doesn't. I said earlier that I'm not sure if it was her own voice in the German version. It really doesn't matter, because the performance is communicated very largely visually. And
in fact, there's not a lot of dialogue
expressive visually. No, I mean the dialogue in some ways is perfunctory, because I think most viewers know the story well enough that they don't need much of a steer to know what's going on. And of course, as an homage to a silent film, which has intertitles, obviously, it's mostly visual anyway.
It's visually remarkable, isn't it?
Absolutely
remarkable. Because of course the plague visits the town, and then you get to see a lot of really remarkable shots, particularly the coffin procession. There's dead horses.
It's like these kind of serpents coming from either side of the screen. Intersecting in this long shot, and just that whole sort of Bruegel-esque spectacle of plague victims celebrating to the end, as they put it. So enjoying themselves in their last meal, surrounded by coffins and corpses and rats. Worth perhaps noting about Nosferatu the Vampyre, this version, is that it came out in 1979 along with two other versions of the Dracula story, one of which was the most romanticized before Coppola's version, which is John Badham's version with Frank Langella as Dracula, Laurence Olivier as Van Helsing, which is one of my favourite versions. There was going to be a special edition of that with two different versions, the director's cut, which has a desaturated colour scheme, and the theatrical original. But for whatever reason, that never happened. That was going to come out, I believe, on the Indicator label.
Okay.
Never saw the light of day. Sorry, unintentional pun.
Very good.
There.
Very good.
And the other film that came out in '79 was Love at First Bite, with George Hamilton, a spoof of Dracula. So '79 was Dracula's year, really.
A version which I don't think is remembered fondly by anybody is the sequel.
Yeah, I knew you were going to bring this up.
Well, I sat through it, so I need to share the pain to Nosferatu the Vampyre.
Vampire in Venice? Is that
Nosferatu in Venice.
Right.
I can't think of anything good to say about this film.
Is it a Jess Franco movie? I haven't seen it, so you have the advantage of me.
It had about 4 different directors.
Okay.
It had a troubled time of it.
Mm-hmm. And what year is it?
About 87.
Okay.
It's clear from reading everything about it that Kinski was going through a very difficult time whilst filming it. And the only good thing that I can say about it is that the editors did a great job, because there are lots of disparate scenes which aren't linked together, which they clearly put together and formed some kind of narrative. There are a lot of scenes which are reminiscent of scenes in Herzog's version, which are the misty scenes. So there's a few scenes of mist on the beach. Harker and Lucy go for a walk when he realises that he's got to go away to Transylvania, and it's the last time really that they have any joy together, and it's a very beautiful misty scene. There are many, many, many misty scenes in Nosferatu in Venice of Nosferatu, Klaus Kinski, just walking up and down Venice in the mist. Those are all camera tests. So he's not acting.
Okay.
It's just you're just very aware that it's just like Klaus Kinski just going for a walk along the Grand Canal. The remarkable thing is that it's got Christopher Plummer in it and Donald Pleasance.
Gosh.
Both just kind of like calling it in. They neither of them have really that much to do, but they do it competently. The DVD, it's a Severin Blu-ray edition. There is a very long feature documentary on it of questionable production values about Kinski's final years as a filmmaker. And they obviously concentrate a lot on Nosferatu in Venice. Is it worth the price I paid for it for that? No. But is it worth watching again? No, I wouldn't want to inflict it on anybody.
You have the advantage of me in not only having seen Nosferatu in Venice, but also Robert Eggers' what should we call it, reboot, remake, homage to Nosferatu. How does that stack up with the Herzog version?
It's very, very, very different. It's I don't know. That's a very good question. I wish I'd had time to prepare for that question. Actually,
sorry. Throw that at you.
The Nosferatu in Eggers' version is a supernatural being. So there's very little. I didn't feel any compassion for him, or they didn't feel like there was any tragedy. It is an overwhelmingly beautifully shot film. And I saw it at the cinema. I haven't watched it since. And for me, the visuals almost swamped anything else that was going on, because, my God, some of the shots are astonishingly beautiful, like watercolours.
Okay.
Apart from the same story, I wouldn't even know where to begin to compare them, to be completely frank. It's a very, very different take on it. I should have watched that instead of Nosferatu in Venice. That's what I should have done.
Well, I hope you've learned your lesson.
I have learnt my lesson. Yes, I have. I just wanted to say something about that short documentary, which is on the BFI Nosferatu edition, which is about behind the scenes thing. Unlike Burden of Dreams, which is the making of Fitzcarraldo, where Kinski has got a major part and does a lot of shouting, and we won't go into all of the famous anecdotes of that. We see Kinski being in very, very good form and taking it very seriously and discussing with Werner Herzog the part and being very, very clearly in a very good space on set. And again, it makes you think, there was a reason why people came back to work with him, because he was a very intelligent and thoughtful man when he wasn't having one of his periods of obviously very, very difficult mental health issues. So that was an eye opener, seeing that, because the image of Kinski that possibly the English speaking world has got is My Best Fiend.
Yes.
Where it is about Kinski's mental troubles. And here we are seeing him as a mature professional actor on set, which is remarkable.
Worth saying also, if listeners have the remastered BFI edition, there's an excellent stills gallery, which almost every still actually features Herzog directing, and there are some wonderful images in there, so don't miss that.
And a great trailer.
And a great trailer too. Yes.
Yeah, they don't make trailers like that anymore.
No, completely separate from the film as a text in its own right. Yeah. It's beautiful.
So I'd watch Herzog's Nosferatu again. Would you watch it in a few years?
Well, I was watching it for the half-dozenth time. So yes, I'd have another go at it and maybe retry the English language version just to give it the benefit of the doubt, as I've only seen that once.
So White Nights, I think we both agreed we'd both watch again. And you'd watch it on your, what is it, a 77-inch telly? Is that right?
Yes, okay. Right. Thank you for listening. Next time we'll be talking about Ivy, directed by Sam Wood, and Une Femme Douce by Robert Bresson. I've been Sheldon Hall.
And I've been Christopher Hall. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Goodbye.